Why did you guys say anything about the leaked draft memo at the Supreme Court?
How do you mean?
Well, in the past, you have declined to comment on leaked materials, so why now?
Well, Peter, I think as you would note and was reported, the Supreme Court confirmed this document was accurate, even if it is not the final opinion.
The president had a statement out before they confirmed that it was real. So
And in
what
that
changed?
statement, he made clear, we don't know if this is accurate. We don't know if this document is accurate or the leak is accurate.
And to follow up on a question earlier, does the president think the leaker should be punished?
Again, that's up for the Department of Justice and others to determine. What our focus is on is not getting our distracted or our eye off the ball of what is most important to people across the country here, which is not the leak and the story of the leak. It is the fact that women's health care is at risk for millions of people across this country.
The president said today, what happens if you have states change the law saying that children who are LGBTQ can't be in classrooms with other children? What is he talking about?
Well, I think, Peter, we've seen extreme laws that target LGBTQ families, their kids across the country, and I think what he's saying is we don't know what they're capable of given what they've already done to date.
Which state is trying to segregate LGBTQ children in the classroom?
Well, I think we've seen laws that are incredibly discriminatory. That's what the president's referring to, and the fact that he doesn't know what additional steps could be taken by extreme wings of the party that would rather divide rather than work on issues that the American people actually are focused on and actually impacting them.
So another one about abortion. Why is the president talking about the judgment to choose to abort a child?
Well, the president's view on a woman's right to make choices about her own health care is well known, well documented, well stated.
He said abort a child.
I understand, Peter, but what I'm telling you is what his position is.
And how can you guys say this is not a political issue when the president's statement about this talked about getting pro-choice officials elected?
Did I say it's not a political issue?
Yes, you actually said some call it a political issue. It is not. Abort Air Force One.
Well, because the vast majority of the public believes that this should not be overturned, meaning I meant to say it's not a partisan issue, and I don't think it is. There are many Republican and independent women, men across the country who do not believe the Supreme Court should overturn a woman's right to make choices about her own health care. In fact, only 30% in recent polls thought they should. So that's what I'm referring to.
Yesterday you said the leak raises eyebrows, including for many here in the White House. But does the White House explicitly condemn this leak, or has seeing this draft been seen as welcome by some here?
I don't think we have a particular view on that other than to say that we certainly note the unprecedented nature of it. What we are mindful of, and I spoke with the president about exactly this question yesterday, and obviously it's up to the Department of Justice to determine what, if any, action they will take. And I know, obviously, there have been calls for that from some Republicans, but also members of the Supreme Court. But our focus is on not losing sight from what the content is in the draft and what is at risk here. And while we have heard a number raise concerns about the leak, our focus is on highlighting what the content in there would put at risk for women across the country. So again, we'll leave it to the Department of Justice to make a decision about that. I would note that many Republicans have wanted to talk about that and not about whether they support the protection of a woman's right to choose, a woman's right to make decisions with her doctor about her health care. Maybe not a surprise, given by more than a 2-to-1 margin, Americans want the Supreme Court to support abortion rights.
As for the content of the draft, the document, the draft, it is of course a draft, but if the Supreme Court does move to strike down Roe, should Americans be prepared to accept that decision as legitimate, and would President Biden accept that decision as legitimate?
Well, I can't speak for what actions could be possible on the legal front. I would point you to the Department of Justice on that. But what I can tell you will happen is, and this is what we are preparing for the possibility of, that if Roe were to fall, abortion would probably be illegal in about half the states in the country, up to 26 states, particularly in the South, the Midwest, and West. who have all spoken out, many leaders, about how they're poised to restrict or ban access. Some have even taken action, even as recently as yesterday, as crazy as that sounds. And depending on the court's decision, 13 states even have trigger laws. Trigger laws mean they would basically immediately put in place bans. And as a result of all of this, tens of millions of women may lack access to reproductive health care services as soon as this summer, if that were a decision to be made. I'd also note, and as we're thinking about and working with not just the Gender Policy Council, but also the Department of Health and Human Services, also members on the Hill, also the Council's office, what we're really focused on is the impact this would have. It would dramatically reduce access to reproductive care, particularly for women with low incomes, women of color, women in rural communities. We know that 75% of those seeking abortions are living at or below 200% of the poverty level. And the majority of patients seeking abortions identify as Black, Hispanic, and AAPI. So if you look at the 26 states, let's take for example, or the 13 to 26 depending, and you look at a map, that means that women, the majority of whom are below that poverty level and are Black, Hispanic, or AAPI, are going to be forced to figure out how to travel, how to take time off of work, how to get childcare. It is a prohibitive cost. It will not be safe, and that is what we are focused on working to address as we're making policy decisions and considerations.
It sounds like you're saying then that's a yes, he would consider this a legitimate decision.
Well, there is not even a decision yet. We don't know the validity of we know that this is a leaked document. It is not the final opinion, so I just can't speak to that hypothetically at this point in time. Go ahead.